Yu Yuan's trip to the chaos had officially stepped onto the right track. At the same time, the third chaotic assembly created momentum again. After tens of millions of years, another generation of geniuses appeared, coveting the supreme divine throne that represented geniuses. Hanju decided not to go personally to the chaotic assembly this time. He had clones in all 3 Dao fields. If any disciple was willing to leave, they could look for his clone at any time. Millions of years later, Hanju was 110 million years old. However, he didn't trigger the reward option, but there was an additional creation heavens chosen. It seemed that he had to increase his seclusion cycle to once every 10 million years. Otherwise, it would be too difficult to wait. Moreover, he also felt that 5 million years was too short recently. Hanju started to check his emails. In the past 5 million years, his descendants and disciples had stopped fighting. Compared to the tens of millions of years before, it was indeed much quieter. Hanju asked after reading the emails, "Shani, the chaotic assembly is about to begin. Do you want to go?" Shani opened his eyes and asked carefully, "Can I go?" Shani was pleasantly surprised and hurriedly thanked him. "Of course." Hanju stood up and walked out of the Taoist temple to visit his Tao companions. At that time, he would send them to the second Tao field and follow Liao, Tao, Comprehension Sword, and the other Fiend Celestials. Liao had been keeping a low profile all these years, but every time Hanju visited her, he discovered that her cultivation level had been advancing by leaps and bounds. She had long reached the perfected Great Tao Supreme Realm and was still cultivating diligently. It was not difficult for them to dominate the chaos with Liao and the chaotic Fiend Celestials around. Hanju came to the second Tao field several days later. Pleasantly surprised to see him, Tao Comprehension Sword immediately pounced forward. Liao also opened her eyes and looked at him quietly. Hanju sat down and chatted with them about cultivation. 2 hours later, the 3 of them entered the simulation trial. Hanju fought Liao and Tao Comprehension Sword to test their strength. The 2 women were both chaotic fiend celestials, so the difference in potential was naturally not great. It was just that Liao was more determined and focused on cultivating. Tao Comprehension Sword would occasionally slack off, so the cultivation years she had accumulated were inferior. The battle began. Hanju didn't attack, but he let the 2 women use all sorts of mystical powers first. Hanju discovered that Liao's Tao had changed. It was the sword Tao in the past. Now, it was still the Tao of weapons, but there were other types of weapons. Using the power of the Great Tao to transform into a weapon, it was even sharper. As for Tao Comprehension Sword, it was still the sword Tao. 5 minutes later, the simulation trial ended. The 2 women admitted defeat. Hanju didn't attack from the beginning to the end. Liao sighed. "We can't shorten the difference between us no matter how hard we cultivate." Tao Comprehension Sword nodded and looked at him with admiration. "I infuse Tao with all sorts of weapons, but I actually control the Tao. I want to control all powers. My Tao is to control the Tao. What do you think?" Liao asked seriously. Hanju said, "That's feasible. If you control the Tao, you can do the same thing and return the favor. With all sorts of divine weapons as the formation, you can reverse the stars and overturn the world." The 2 of them began to discuss the Tao, while Tao Comprehension Sword listened carefully. Hanju finally returned to the third Tao field. After discussing the Tao for 1,000 years and interacting with them for decades, he sat on the 36th grade reincarnation world destruction Black Lotus and began to look at the chaos. himself. His status had risen very quickly. The Creation Emperor Court's reputation also erupted. With the addition of the number 1 expert of the chaos, Han Huang, how could the various overlords not be afraid? From the looks of it, the Creation Emperor Court was unstoppable. They would definitely be able to obtain great providence when the endless era arrived. Hanju's gaze landed on life again. Life had already turned to the edge of the chaos and was constantly spreading. Recently, it had not caused much trouble and seemed to be keeping a low profile. Hanju discovered that Huang Zuantian was missing. He couldn't find his aura in the entire chaos. So he checked his friends list. Huang Zuantian's portrait was still there. Hanju was not too worried. He had greater confidence in Huang Zuantian than in Han Huang. This fellow was very capable of survival. His gaze landed on Li Daokong next. The current Li Daokong was the strongest Calamity Life controller in the Life faction and was also the leader on the surface. He had fought with Laozi several times and had both wins and losses. He dominated the Sword Dao and became a peak existence that countless sword cultivators looked up to. Shi Du Dao and Jing Tiangong were still in the Life faction. As believers of the Dark Forbidden Lord, they were very careful. Perhaps because the Dark Forbidden Lord had not appeared for a long time, they did not have the confidence. He looked at the Heavenly Dao next and saw that it had already entered a bottleneck. It lived in the domain under the Divine Robe Daoist, and could be considered the overlord of a region. However, the surrounding domains were all transcendent factions, causing the Heavenly Dao to not dare to expand anymore. The Divine Robe Daoist had instructed that if the Heavenly Dao developed more than a region, it would be surrounded by the Great Dao Divine Spirits. Heavenly Venerate Xian Du had no choice but to stop expanding. Hanju felt that this was enough for the Heavenly Dao. If not for him, how could the Heavenly Dao be where it was today? The Heavenly Dao should be satisfied. The Heavenly Dao wasn't his Great Dao world, so he naturally wouldn't support it under pressure. Even now, Hanju didn't know if this Heavenly Dao was Panga's Great Dao world or the Dao ancestors. Panga had already revived and was far from the Heavenly Dao. He seemed to have severed ties with the Heavenly Dao and had no contact with it at all. The more this was the case, the more Hanju felt that there was something fishy. Hanju's gaze landed on the ultimate origin world in the blank domain after observing the chaos and the Heavenly Dao. At this moment, a huge battle was erupting in the ultimate origin world. Hundreds of chaotic fiend celestials participated, including the figures of the ultimate origin soul race and the nether race, as if they were fighting for the right to speak in the ultimate origin world. Hanju watched the battle without the slightest intention of interfering. The first life fiend celestial to be born had already established a connection with the nether race. It was even Hanju who pulled the strings. This battle could only be won by them in the end. If they didn't fight, the other fiend celestials would probably not be convinced, so Hanju left them to it. Even if the chaotic fiend celestial died, Hanju could use his will to create a new chaotic fiend celestial. The chaotic fiend celestials in the ultimate origin world had already changed greatly. They would transform one day. They would no longer be chaotic fiend celestials, but ultimate origin fiend celestials. Of course, they were still far inferior to Han Ju, the extreme Dao ultimate origin body. They were only equivalent to descendants of the extreme Dao ultimate origin body. Progenitor, the mysterious figure I saw earlier, has appeared again. He even spoke to me this time. Shawnee suddenly opened his eyes and said with a solemn tone, "If it were an ordinary person, they would definitely be shocked by him. It was too sudden." Hanju, who was observing the ultimate origin world, frowned and asked, What did he say? What else? That's it? That's it? Hanju didn't understand. He stared at Shawnee. Shawnee smiled bitterly. I can't figure out this sentence, either. Why are you so shocked if you can't figure it out? Are you deliberately teasing me? Hanju said in a low voice. A trace of pressure erupted, scaring Shawnee so much that he knelt down and hurriedly kowtowed to apologize. He said with a sobbing tone, I really don't know, but when he said this, it made me very uneasy. I keep feeling that I can't let my guard down, much less ignore it. Hanju felt that it made sense and asked in his mind, why did the figure say that to Shawnee? Unable to derive its karma. The other party might have an ultimate Tao treasure. Hanju had no choice but to change his train of thought. In the following 100 million years, other than the ninth chaos, can there be an existence that threatens my life? 9 quadrillion years of lifespan will be deducted. Do you want to continue? Continue. Impossible. Hanju was relieved. He reminded him, you did the right thing. You have to tell me everything no matter what happens, but pay attention to your attitude. Don't be shocked, understand? Shawnee hurriedly said, I know my mistake. I understand. Then, Hanju stopped paying attention to the ultimate origin world and entered seclusion. He planned to spend 10 million years in seclusion, so he instructed Shawnee to directly leave the Taoist temple and find his clone if he wanted to go to the chaotic assembly. Hanju was immersed in cultivation. His will surpassed the ultimate origin world and looked down on the audience. The battles and conflicts of all living beings were only a reflection of history in his eyes. The 3,000 Great Tao formed the veins of the Great Tao world. The supreme rules were the beams of the house. The entire world constantly expanded and perfected the power of rules. His cultivation level also constantly increased. Somehow, Hanju saw his own transcendent rule. To a Tao creator, the transcendent rule was his soul. It absorbed the ultimate origin world's providence, constantly strengthening itself. As the transcendent rule strengthened, the various life forms in the ultimate origin world reflected in his will. Countless images exploded, looking extremely vast. This process could be said to be fast or slow. 10 million years had passed when Hanju next woke up. The chaotic assembly had long ended, and Shawnee had already returned to his side. Hanju's cultivation level increased greatly. He was getting closer and closer to the late-stage Tao creator. He also had another creation heavens chosen. Hanju looked at Shawnee and asked, was the chaotic assembly fun? Shawnee opened his eyes and was stunned. Then, he said excitedly, fun. Looks good. It's so lively. Progenitor, I didn't expect your identity to be so high. Those mighty figures that all living beings admire are actually your disciples and children. My horizons have been broadened this time. The chaos is really big. Even if I participate in the chaotic assembly, it will be very difficult for me to make a name for myself. Shawnee was extremely excited. He began to talk about what he had seen and heard. Hanju also listened with relish. The ultimate god of punishment could successfully carry out the chaotic assembly without him around. Ever since the ultimate god of punishment obtained the recognition of the ninth chaos, his strength and authority had changed drastically. Other than Han Huang, no one below the Tao creator realm dared to provoke him. Even so, the hidden sex reputation was not humiliated. Shawnee followed Xing Hongxian and the others and could be said to have received all sorts of treatment. No matter how strong a giant was, they could smile and treat them with extreme enthusiasm. Hanju asked, why didn't you participate? Shawnee scratched his head. I know my ability. I'll just play with curses. I can't win if we really fight. Hanju smiled and didn't ask further. Shawnee said, Progenitor, I saw a figure in this chaotic assembly. It feels very similar to the mysterious figure I encountered previously. I mean figure. As for aura, I can't sense it. Oh? Who is it? Tell me. I think his name is Huang Zuantian. Yes, it's Huang Zuantian. Shawnee frowned. Hanju was surprised. Hanju didn't show it to prevent others from thinking that he was related to Huang Zuantian. Really? Really? It's Life Lord Huang Zuantian. He also went to the chaotic assembly, but as a chaotic powerhouse. I was in a daze when I saw him stand up, Shawnee said seriously. Hanju couldn't help but look at him in surprise. This Huang Zuantian was beginning to involve the Tao of Karma. Hanju thought of primordial origin in Huang Zuantian's body. It might be related to him. If not for Hanju, primordial origin should have evolved into a primordial fiend celestial. He might even be the son of the great Tao immeasurable calamity that opened the endless era. Now that primordial origin had perished, he could only parasitize Huang Zuantian. Hanju said, I understand. Continue cultivating. Shawnee wanted to continue, but since Hanju said so, he could only shut up. Hanju began to check his emails after Shawnee closed his eyes. The chaos stirred again after the chaotic assembly ended. Hanju noticed that many of his good friends had created their own world, the embryonic Great Tao world. Before the Great Tao world succeeded, these worlds could only be considered supreme worlds. More and more supreme worlds appeared. He visited Huang Zuantian in his dreams after reading the emails. The dream was the Jade Pure Sacred Sect. As usual, Huang Zuantian asked for opportunities first and bowed after confirming his identity. Hanju smiled and asked, How have you been? Huang Zuantian said, Everything is fine. I'm currently in the ancient primordial world. Ancient primordial world? That's right. I didn't expect the legend to be true. Primordial origin brought me into this world. I don't even know how I entered. In addition, I feel that there's something wrong with primordial origin. He has already left my body. I can feel him absorbing a mysterious force. Huang Zuantian frowned. Hanju said, The invocation technique I taught you can summon me. Don't panic if you encounter trouble. Huang Zuantian said, Thank you, Master, but I can't summon anyone. You shouldn't be able to guess where I am. The ancient primordial world is filled with terrifying corpses. I've never seen such a purgatory. I'm worried that primordial origin might lose himself. Master, is Han Huang really a primordial fiend celestial? Primordial origin said that he's the primordial fiend celestial, the only primordial fiend celestial. I'm not sure if Han Huang is a primordial fiend celestial. After all, I'm not a primordial fiend celestial. However, from his potential alone, he's indeed very suitable. Perhaps the primordial fiend celestial was not nurtured by nature but relied on great providence, Hanju said in a low voice. Huang Zuantian nodded. The primordial fiend celestial was a legend, after all. If Hanju also knew, didn't that mean that his background was deeper than the entire chaos? Master, it's best to be careful. If I can't control primordial origin, he will definitely take revenge on the chaos. At that time, Han Huang will be the first to bear the brunt, Huang Zuantian reminded. Hanju nodded. You have to be careful too. You can't lose your life no matter what. If you can't suppress it, then don't. The chaos is not as weak as you think. Huang Zuantian was touched. He cupped his hands and said, I will listen to Master. The two of them chatted for a while more before the dream ended. Hanju asked in his mind, can primordial origin transform into a primordial fiend celestial in the ancient primordial world? 500 trillion years of lifespan will be deducted. Do you want to continue? Continue. Yes. Hanju's heart sank. He tried to deduce the ancient primordial world but failed. He had no choice but to use the system's derivation function. Unable to deduce the ancient primordial world's location, Hanju teleported to the Taoist temple of the main Tao field after seeing this. He took out the Book of Misfortune and started cursing primordial origin. However, the Book of Misfortune couldn't capture primordial origin at all. In other words, the ancient primordial world was not in the chaos or the blank domain at all, but in an unimaginable space. It seemed that he could only put primordial origin aside for the time being. Hanju was hesitating to use the invocation Tao to summon Huang Zuntian back. With his current cultivation level, he could already summon only one and not all existences who had grasped the invocation technique. He immediately tried to summon Huang Zuntian. After all, he was loyal to him. He suddenly frowned. No matter how he tried, he could not sense Huang Zuntian's aura. Forget it, I can only wait quietly. Hanju thought like this. It was strange. He summoned him. Where was the ancient primordial world? Unable to figure it out, Hanju could only cultivate diligently. He had to break through to the late-stage Tao Creator realm first. Hanju closed his eyes and started cultivating. In the blank domain, the ninth chaos and the immeasurable destruction venerable gathered. The ninth chaos was still a black shadow. It was not as big as the immeasurable destruction venerable, but he knelt in front of him. The immeasurable destruction venerable was like a condensed black cloud. His true appearance could not be seen. His posture was inhuman and emitted the vast domineering aura of a god. How's the situation? Ninth Chaos asked. The immeasurable destruction venerable replied, we can't find it, but the great Tao immeasurable calamity's fate is getting closer and closer. We need to be prepared. When will you start the endless era? The ninth Chaos said, I originally wanted to use the great Tao immeasurable calamity to open the endless era, but I need the power to surpass the Tao creator realm to do it. I'm still a little lacking. Now that the great Tao immeasurable calamity is attacking, this is the general trend. It can't be stopped. The immeasurable destruction venerable was silent. The ninth Chaos said, when the endless era arrives, I will retire and you will take over my authority. However, if you want to take over this authority, you have to have power that surpasses all the other Tao creators. This great Tao immeasurable calamity is a good opportunity. If you can obtain the providence of the entire great Tao immeasurable calamity, you will shake off the other Tao creators. The immeasurable destruction venerable said, I understand. I'll prepare now. The ninth Chaos vanished. The immeasurable destruction venerable stood there for a while before disappearing. In the purple void, blood chi and primordial purple chi interwove. Endless corpses were everywhere, like a desperate purgatory. Countless resentful devils seemed to be crying silently, causing space to distort. Huang Zuntian sat on the head of a huge skeleton and looked at a huge egg at the end of the primordial chaos. There were countless veins on the surface of the egg and light burst out from its depths as if a huge heart was beating inside. Huang Zuntian frowned and thought that all along, it was all thanks to primordial origin's help that he could be where he was today. However, he knew that primordial origin also had his own goals. If not for his body, primordial origin would not have been able to recover his cultivation. Both sides did not owe the other anything. However, now, primordial origin hated Han Huang and the chaos. He wanted to bring calamity to the chaos and kill Han Huang. He couldn't sit by and watch. The calamity life controllers wouldn't be able to escape death if the chaos was destroyed. Han Huang was even his master's son. No matter what, he couldn't sit by and watch. Should I attack him? Huang Zuntian hesitated. He couldn't figure out primordial origins. Current strength. He didn't even dare to guarantee that primordial origin still needed him. At this moment, a tired voice floated over. Huang Zuntian, I can't withstand this. Primordial power alone. Are you willing to withstand it together with me? It can at least save you 10 billion years of bitter cultivation. Primordial origin's voice. Huang Zuntian felt that this was a trap. This was too coincidental. He was about to attack him when primordial origin suggested this and even pretended to be tired. No! Killing intent was obvious. Huang Zuntian stood up and flew towards the huge egg. He suppressed the killing intent in his chest. He was extremely nervous. He knew that he only had one chance. He would either live or die. 10 million years later, Hanju opened his eyes. This seclusion made him extremely close to the late-stage Tao creator realm. He finally smelled the opportunity to break through again. It had been nearly 70 million years since his last breakthrough. It was equivalent to breaking through from the mid-stage to the late stage. It was equivalent to going from immortal to the mid-stage Tao creator realm. It was obvious how difficult it was to cultivate as a Tao creator. Hanju estimated that he would break through in at most 1 million years. He checked the emails mainly to see Huang Zuntian's situation. Soon, he frowned. Your good friend Huang Zuntian was attacked by a mysterious mighty figure and was severely injured. Your good friend Huang Zuntian was possessed by a mysterious mighty figure. Your good friend Huang Zuntian only has a remnant soul left. He was sealed by a mysterious force and lost his will. So tragic? Sigh. Poor thing. Hanju still couldn't deduce Huang Zuntian's location. He was probably still in the ancient primordial world. In that case, he would break through first. At that time, he would wait for primordial. Hanju said, Shani, go out for a while. I'm preparing to cultivate a mystical power. I'm afraid that I'll hurt you. Shani, who was cultivating, opened his eyes. He nodded respectfully and left. With no more worries, Hanju immediately prepared to break through with all his might. His cultivation was a secret. No one could tell he was so powerful. Only then could he hide it and surpass the 9th chaos. 3 million years later, Hanju began to break through. His cultivation had already been suppressed to the extreme and was about to erupt like a volcano. He finally broke through after 1 million years. Late-stage Tao creator. His ultimate origin power began to increase. Even the ultimate origin world began to rapidly expand and devour the nearby blank domain. He checked his attributes panel as he consolidated his cultivation. Name, Hanju. Lifespan, 134001982 50兆09999亿9999999999 999兆9999亿9999万999999999999兆9999亿9999万9999 999兆9999亿9999万9999 9999亿9999万9999 Race, Ultimate Origin Fiend Celestial Immeasurable Emperor Cultivation, Late Stage Tao Creator, Perfect Sage Technique, Primordial Chaos Reincarnation Great Tao, Heavenly Cycle Body Tempering Technique Great Tao of Life and Death, Great Tao of Karma, Great Tao of Extreme Origin Constitution, Extreme Tao Ultimate Origin Body Awesome! This series of origin lifespans fascinated Hanju. Most importantly, after reaching the late stage, one could look forward to the perfected Tao Creator realm. Above that was the Creator Lord realm that no one had reached since ancient times. Just thinking of the Creator Lord realm made Hanju's blood boil. He was already very close to invincibility. Hanju's cultivation finally stabilized after spending nearly 800,000 years. The first thing he did when he opened his eyes was to take out the Book of Misfortune. Shawnee was still outside the Taoist temple. He could curse the ninth chaos without being discovered. He immediately started. 5 days later, his lifespan decreased. A second was equivalent to 10,000 lifetimes. This time, Hanju only spent 200 quadrillion years of his lifespan to damage the ninth chaos Tao heart and reduce his cultivation. As for how much he had fallen, he did not know. However, the chaos showed signs of collapsing again. He did not dare to continue. It was fine to delay the ninth chaos progress. Hanju didn't mind letting the ninth chaos or others step into the Lord realm after he surpassed the Creator Lord realm. It was safer to have the strongest position in his hands. Hanju didn't trust others. He could give peace to all living beings, but as a living being, he didn't believe that invincible people could protect him forever. After cursing, Hanju put away the Book of Misfortune and let Shawnee in. Shawnee couldn't wait anymore. He quickly entered the temple and knelt down. Progenitor, you've succeeded? Shawnee asked. Carefully. To expel him for so long, it had to be an impressive mystical power. Hanju smiled and nodded. I'm in a good mood. How about I preach the Tao for you and teach you a mystical power? Sure. Shawnee agreed in surprise. Hanju began to preach the Tao. During the techniques, gradually, his great Tao voice covered the entire third Tao field, immersing all the disciples. The living beings in the third Tao field were all enlightened by Hanju. Their potential was not considered impressive, but with the help of the spirit chi in the Tao field and Hanju's occasional lecture, their cultivation levels were all very strong. They were all already freedom sages, but because they didn't go out, they didn't make a name for themselves in the universe of stars. 10,000 years passed in the blink of an eye. Hanju began the simulation trial upon seeing that Shawnee was still immersed in Tao. He challenged 200,000 immeasurable destruction venerables. Very easy, as expected of a late-stage Tao creator. The difference in every minor realm was worlds apart. Hanju continued to increase the number of enemies. 300,000. An increase of 100,001. Go! They were easily killed. It was very difficult to insta-kill those in this realm, but Hanju didn't feel any pressure. 400,000. It was still relaxed. 500,000. Hanju began to find it difficult. The pressure. Strong. He stopped here. Perhaps this was not his limit, but as long as it was difficult, he had to be cautious. Only then would he not develop a lazy and disdainful mentality. Hanju was very satisfied with his improvement. He stood up and started to stretch his muscles while checking his emails. Your daughter Hongling was cursed by a mysterious curse. Your good friend Huang Zuntian has grasped supreme misfortune. Your son Han Huang was attacked by your good friend Huang Zuntian in his dreams. His soul was damaged. Your good friend Zhao Shuangchuan was attacked by your good friend Huang Zuntian in his dreams and was severely injured. Your disciple Ji Xianshan fell into a crack in the blank domain and into an unknown domain. Your good friend Huang Zuntian has absorbed the ancient primordial world's providence and his cultivation has increased greatly. Your disciple Dao Sovereign was attacked by the evil devils of Shitian X80092283. Your disciple, your good friend Evil Heavenly Emperor has received guidance from a transcendent existence. His cultivation has increased. Your descendant Han Yi obtained a dream from a transcendent existence and learned a great Tao mystical power. How lively! Huang Zuntian was too active. To be precise, primordial origin was too active. It was unknown if primordial origin had snatched Huang Zuntian's memories. Currently, Huang Zuntian's favorability towards Hanju didn't decrease. In addition, transcendent existences appeared again. It seemed that the chaotic consciousness and the formless transcendent deity had been released. TSK, the Tao creator was playing chess. It was going to be good in the future. As Tao creators, they were constantly suppressed. If it were Hanju, he would definitely be furious. However, the ninth chaos was too strong. They were angry but did not dare to say anything. If they knew that the ninth chaos was injured or that the Dark Forbidden Lord could threaten it, they would definitely have a plan, especially the chaotic consciousness. It was extremely rebellious. Hanju continued reading. The emails were abundant, but fortunately, nothing happened to the people he cared about. Now, he was waiting for Huang Zuntian to appear. He would attack him as long as Huang Zuntian appeared in the chaos. Huang Zuntian had been loyal for so many years. How could Hanju let him be harmed? However, he still couldn't deduce Huang Zuntian's whereabouts. He was either hiding with a supreme treasure or was still in the ancient primordial world. Huang Zuntian would definitely find Han Huang. Once the battle started, Han Huang would borrow the ultimate origin power and he could find Huang Zuntian then. Hanju closed his eyes and continued cultivating. In a dark palace in the Creation Emperor Court, Han Huang was meditating and cultivating. His expression changed and his neck twitched slightly. Something was wrong. After a while, he suddenly opened his eyes and exhaled. His eyes were filled with killing intent. You want to snatch the name of the primordial fiend celestial from me? Are you worthy? Han Huang muttered to himself with a murderous expression. He stood up and appeared in front of Hongling. Fourth sister, I'm leaving for a period of time, Han Huang said. Hongling frowned. Why? Han Huang did not hide anything and told her about Life Lord provoking him. Hongling said, second brother must be careful. The other party is clearly provoking you, which means that he's confident. Han Huang waved his hand. I know, so I have to leave to prevent that fellow from attacking and affecting the Creation Emperor court. One-on-one battle? Han Huang laughed and left, not giving Han Ling a chance to say anything. Han Ling frowned as she looked in the direction he left. Han Ling sent a dream to Han Ju and told him about the situation after Han Huang left. Han Ling felt that this matter was very dangerous. After all, Han Huang had already made himself invincible. Under such circumstances, the other party still dared to provoke him. He was definitely confident. The Life Lord wasn't a nobody. Han Ju expressed that he understood and told Han Ling not to worry. After that, he continued cultivating. The chaos stirred again while Han Ju was waiting for primordial origin to challenge Han Huang. Shurtion, consciousnessless, and the transcendent great Tao worlds all had eternal giants that existed in legends. They quickly gathered forces and swept through the various great Tao worlds, forming a giant that surpassed the various factions of the chaos. The consolidation of the forces of the three great Tao worlds also made the chaos uneasy. The great Tao divine spirits went to the ultimate god of punishment. The ultimate god of punishment controlled the great Tao divine spirits, and they supervised the various domains. The great Tao divine spirits still had restrictions on the various factions, but they usually did not interfere without permission. Under the sky, on the round platform, the gods gathered. Apart from the great Tao divine spirits, the divine punishers also came. All the mighty figures were waiting for the ultimate god of punishment to appear. They first discussed and exchanged views. They were all uneasy about the situation of the three great Tao worlds. They didn't know the Tao creator's game, so they had always treated Shurtion, transcendent, and consciousnessless as great enemies. Han Tuo listened silently and did not say anything. Chpter also smiled. So be it. I'm curious about who's the son of the immeasurable calamity and who can control the situation. Guan Bubi walked over and asked, "Where's Han Huang? Why isn't he here?" Han Tuo shook his head. "How would I know where that kid is? Ask Han Yi and the others." Guan Bubi looked at Han Yi not far away. Han Yi replied, "Ancestor Han Huang should have gone into seclusion. We can't find him, either." Seclusion? The divine punishers were shocked. They had all experienced Han Huang's strength. He was so strong but could still enter seclusion. Such potential was really terrifying. Looks like he's really a primordial fiend celestial. Et on side. Han Huang called himself the primordial fiend celestial. All living beings had always thought that he only used the primordial fiend celestial as the strongest name. After all, no one had seen a true primordial fiend celestial, and Han Huang was the son of a chaotic fiend celestial. Soon, the ultimate god of punishment appeared. All the great Tao divine spirits bowed to him. The ultimate god of punishment had long been forgotten. The ultimate god of punishment was extremely dignified. He scanned everyone present and slowly said, "I already know why." The Holy Mother of Order asked, "Then, should we imitate the chaos?" The ultimate god of punishment shook his head. "You don't have to worry. The chaos is the center of everything. Even if the other great Tao worlds are united, they can't devour. Can exist indefinitely, including the high cultivation realm." The great Tao divine spirits' blood boiled. Will they give the other great Tao worlds a chance if they kill each other? A great Tao divine spirit asked. Such rules were really strange. Would the chaos really be fine if more than half of the chaotic forces died? The ultimate god of punishment said, "You should be able to sense that in the past 100 million years, other than the number." The great Tao divine spirits were enlightened. So that was the case. Thinking about it carefully, that was indeed the case. If not for the chaotic assembly, they would have really not known that there were so many hidden geniuses. Furthermore, the great Tao sages that had appeared in the past 100 million years far exceeded any previous era. This was definitely an unprecedented golden age. In addition, regarding the primordial fiend Celestial, it is not the jinx that destroyed the chaos. The primordial fiend Celestial will. They will surpass the great Tao Supreme Realm and reach the unknown and mysterious. Supreme Realm. The ultimate god of punishment said meaningfully. All the great Tao divine spirits' eyes lit up. Was this opportunity so great? Han Tua, Guan Bubi, Murong Chi, and the others were also tempted. Their cultivation levels had reached the end of their lifespan and could no longer increase even with the chaotic Fiend Celestial's potential. They naturally would not miss such an opportunity. The ultimate god of punishment waved his sleeve and said, "All of you, impart what I just said to all living beings. This is an opportunity for all living beings. You're not allowed to keep the news to yourselves." With that, the ultimate god of punishment dissipated. These words meant that the chaos would be even more chaotic. To be precise, it would. In the center of the chaos, countless meteors floated in the void. Black mist floated past from time to time. It was unknown how many inauspicious evils were roaring silently inside. Dressed in divine armor, Han Huang sat on the largest meteor like a statue. At this moment, a figure flew over from afar. It was a fairy in a dress that carried 7-colored light. She was devastatingly beautiful and had a weak, pitiful appearance. She stopped in front of Han Huang and said, "Benefactor, I've found everything you want." After a while, countless stones, crystal jades, and strange tendons appeared in her right hand. They circled around Han Huang like the rings of a star. Han Huang opened his eyes and raised his hand to cast a spell. At the same time, he said, "Thank you. You can leave." "No, I'm willing to serve you forever. You know who I am. Do you think I need to be served?" The number one mighty figure in the chaos, Han Huang, and even the primordial fiend Celestial. "You saved my life. I want to stay by your side," the woman in the immortal dress said carefully. "Huge battle. With your Freedom Realm cultivation, you'll only be reduced to ashes. Go back. You're a sage and stand above all living beings in your world, but you'll be nothing if you follow me. It's not worth it." The woman in the immortal dress said seriously, "I'm willing to follow you even if I'm reduced to ashes."